Okay, for today's lesson, we're going to be looking at trigonometry on the calculator. So we don't really have to think about what trigonometric function we need to use. This is just simply to get calculator practice so that when we're doing trigonometry, we're not going to get lost on the calculator. So the first thing you need to do, and it mentions that just up here, sorry, I'm getting my pen ready to work, there we go, is just to make sure your calculator is in degrees mode. So just looking at that, if I pull up my calculator here, I've got a little D up there, which means it's in degrees mode. But if it's not, I can press Shift, Set Up, and see there, number 3, I can choose degrees. In everything you do in this unit, you'll need to be in degrees mode. So if you turn it on and you see a little R up there instead of a D, just make that quick change. So Shift, Set Up, and choose degrees, which is number 3. Okay, so as well as angles being measured in degrees, we also have them measured in minutes and then into seconds. So 1 degree can be divided into 60 minutes and 1 minute can be divided into 60 seconds. So very similar to how we do time. So what this means is if we're looking to being told to round up to the nearest minute, for instance, anything above 30 seconds will round up to the nearest minute, or 30 or more, sorry. Now we can use, there's a button on the calculator for doing degrees, minutes and seconds calculations, and we can convert from a degrees, minutes, seconds format to a decimal format using that. So just going through those there, this first question is converting 64 degrees, 22 minutes to decimal degrees to 2 decimal places. So in our calculator, we type in 64, then we hit this button here, the degrees, minutes, seconds button. If you've got a different calculator, it might actually say DMS, but everyone should have this calculator, and we just press that button once. We then hit 22 minutes. Now, very important, that's not going to work, it's not going to do anything unless we press that button again. So that says 64 degrees, 22 minutes, and even if I was to add seconds, I need to finish with that button. So if I hit equals, that'll give me 64 degrees, 22 minutes and 0 seconds because I didn't put any seconds in. And if I want to convert that, once I've got it down here, once I pressed equals and I've got it down here, I can merely just press this button here and that's going to give me it in decimal or degrees, minutes and seconds. So the question's asked me for decimals to 2 decimal places, so obviously it's going to be 64.36 is where it ends. So we look to the next number, it's bigger than 5, so we're going to round that one up. So it's going to be 64.37. So we'll just write that down there. Degrees. Okay, now the next question we've got is converting decimal degrees into minutes and seconds, and we're going to do this to the nearest minute. So if I bring the calculator back up again, this time I don't need the degrees, minutes and seconds button straight up. I just hit 84.32 because it's in decimal degrees, hit equals, and that'll get me that number down there. And now if I go and press this degrees, minutes and seconds button, it'll convert that accordingly. So it changes that to 84 degrees, 19 minutes and 12 seconds. Now it does say that it wants us to convert to degrees and minutes to the nearest minute. So obviously we look at where the minutes end, there's 19 minutes there, and the next, there's 12 seconds. 12 seconds is less than 30 seconds. So we keep that as it is, and it'll be 84 degrees and 19 minutes. So I'll write that in there. Okay, it's generally accepted too that minutes is 1 apostrophe and seconds is 2. Okay, so now actually using the trigonometry buttons on your calculator, if we know the size of an angle, we can use the trigonometry buttons to work out what the ratio is for that particular angle. So, and this question's asking it to do us to 4 decimal places. So if we want to find that, just hit clear, and we just need to press for the sine ratio for 32 degrees, we just press sine 32, close your brackets, and press equals. All right, and it's to 4 decimal places, so 5299, the next number is less than 5, so we're going to leave that as it is, so 0.5299. Okay, so then the next thing we need is the cosine ratio for 42.6 degrees. So the same process, we press the cosine button, and 42.6, it's a decimal measurement, so we leave that there, close the bracket, and we press enter, equals, and this one's going to end up with 0.7360, but the next number afterwards is a 9, so we're going to have to round up, so it'll be 0.7361. Okay, next up is the tangent ratio, or tan ratio, for 57 degrees and 43 minutes. So for this one, we're going to need to press the tan button, and then we hit 57 degrees, 43, and we have to press that degrees, minutes, seconds button one more time, and then we close our brackets. And that's going to give us an answer. Now, if we answer if we have a angle that we put in degrees and minutes, or if we put it in decimal, it doesn't matter. The ratio is still just going to be a number. So the ratio to 4 decimal places, we've got 1.5828, but the next number is a 6, so we have to round that 8 up to a 9. So 1.5829. Right, so that's those ones. Now the next thing we can do is sometimes we might know the ratio of the sides, but we don't know what the angle is. So in those situations, we can use those 3 buttons that we use for trigonometry, but if you can see just above it in orange, there's sine to the -1, cos to the -1, and tan to the -1. And it's kind of like the inverse of, so it's sort of the opposite operation. So rather than using a sine button to find the angle, we're going to use, to find the ratio, we're going to use the sine of the -1 button if we're given the ratio to find the angle. Now we'll go through this a little bit more in other lessons, but for today we're just getting used to doing this on the calculator. So to find b to the nearest degree, if cos b equals 32, 0.3201, we just need to start by pressing Shift, cos, and then we'll put in point. Well, actually, I'll be smart, I'll be a bit sensible. I'll go 0.3201, and we'll close those brackets. All right, now if I press that in, it's going to give me an answer of 71.33 degrees. I've been asked to answer to the nearest degree, so that'll just be 71 degrees. The next one we've got to find is to 1 decimal place the angle if the ratio of sine b is 0.8315. So to do that, once again, press the Shift button to get this sine of the -1, and then we put in our reference ratio, which is 0.8315. We close our brackets, and that will equal 52.25 degrees. Now it's actually asked to 1 decimal place, so if we look at that 2, the next number is a 5, so we're going to have to round up. Sorry, I said 52, it's 56.25, so that'll become 56.3 degrees. So I will just write that one down here. Whoop. All right, then finally, we need to find theta, or same as finding an angle. We often use this little fellow here for angles, like we use x and y for variables. We often use this little fellow here, which is a Greek letter called theta, for finding angles. So in this case, we're told that tan theta equals 2/5. So we just simply have to press Shift and then the tan button, and then we can put that ratio in. So 2/5, and then just pop along one space and close your brackets there. So just make sure you're not closing the brackets down the bottom in the denominator, we're closing the brackets around the whole ratio. Okay, similar to before, we just press equals. That's going to give us a decimal figure for the degrees, minutes and seconds, but we need to the nearest minute in this case, so we're going to press this degrees, minutes, seconds button, which will convert that answer to 21 degrees, 48 minutes and 5 seconds. So if it's to the nearest minute, we look at how many seconds there are. There's less than 30 seconds there, so we're going to leave things as they are. It's going to be 21 degrees, 48 minutes. So we'll just write that down here. 21 degrees, 48 minutes. Just checking I put that correct on the calculator. There we go. So that's the end of the lesson. When you have a crack at the questions, I'll just quickly zoom along here and show you the questions for this week. Obviously, these first two questions are about displaying these number of minutes in these number of degrees in minutes and these number of minutes in degrees. So if 1 degree equals 60 minutes, then the answer to 1A is just going to be 60 minutes. So obviously, if we're looking, for instance, at B, the answer to that one is going to be 10 times that. So it's going to be 600 minutes in 10 degrees. So we're just taking these figures and multiplying them by 60 to find the number of minutes. Likewise, if we've got a number of minutes and we want to get it to degrees, we've got to divide by 60. So if we've got 120 minutes and we divide that by 60, that's going to leave us with 2 degrees. All right. And then for these questions, we're just looking at plugging into the calculator. Just remember, as you're using that degrees, minutes, seconds button, particularly in question 4, to press the degrees, minutes, second button, not only between the degrees and minutes, but after as well. So have a crack at those. Be nice to your casual teacher, and I'll see you next week.